Welcome to the Goddess Conjurer podcast and show. I'm Kristina Margaret, a holistic empowerment and sobriety coach. I'm also a spiritual badass and truth seeker. Join me as I chat with wicked guests who are down to get real with raw, unfiltered conversations inspired to help you level up your spiritual and personal expansion. So settle in, get cozy, get ready, and let's enjoy the ride. Guys, welcome to the Goddess Conjurer podcast and show. I'm your host, Kristina Margaret, and today we're chatting with the very lovely Melissa Krieger. I'm saying that correctly, right?
Correct. You are.
Awesome.
Good work.
Melissa is a yoga teacher and she lives also on Vancouver Island. And so we're going to chat today all things yoga and life. Thanks for being here.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So we actually met because I came to your yoga retreat and
yes,
I started, well, it's probably like 5 years ago now, at least, taking myself on a yearly retreat alone. So the first year I actually went to Salt Spring Yoga Center.
Yeah.
And I went there for a yoga retreat and that was great. And then I came across your retreat at Stoll Lake Farm. And so I've been to two of those retreats and I missed this year's. And obviously we were on a retreat delay for a while. So that is how we met. And I'm very grateful for that. So
totally.
How did you start doing retreats?
I've been teaching yoga since 2005. So I think my first retreat was 2016. I knew it was always something that I wanted to do. I just needed to have enough interest because I wanted to make sure I had enough people. I didn't want to they're expensive, right? To rent the spaces.
Yes, they
totally.
are.
Yeah. But I had one of my girlfriends who's also a yoga teacher kind of gave me the confidence to you're ready for it. You can do it. And she also rented Stoll Lake. So I did my first one.
And is that Jennifer that you've done the retreats with?
No. So it's her name is Taryn Strong.
Taryn. Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know her personally, but I've been following her and she's part of She Recovers and she's like the founder, I believe. And
she's amazing.
Yeah. I'm hoping that there's a future where I'll get to, meet her or be a part of that program. So
she is very inspiring. I believe it's her and her mom that run She Recovers. Yeah. So Taryn gave me the pep talk, you can do it. I was yeah, I can. So I ran my first one in 2016 and I did it by myself and it was incredibly overwhelming. I would never run a retreat by myself again. I just didn't, I don't know.
And you have 30 people come.
Yeah. And that one, I think I had 25 or something. And in my head, I was I always teach, 25 people. It's no big deal, but not thinking it would be 48 hours with 25.
Yeah. People. And the undertaking of 25 people's energy for the whole weekend. I'm wiped after a retreat of 8 people for the weekend, doing them alone. I'm and I've made that mistake now of I just got to do a retreat again in October for the first time in 2 years. And I didn't take any time off after the retreat and I was fucked. I was so tired. I was so bitchy. I was I had a mental breakdown. I was what am I doing? So lesson learned. I
know, me too. I came home and my boyfriend was he's quite affectionate and he was all over me. And I was get off me. I can't even, there's nothing, I am dead. There's nothing left to give. I was exhausted. I wasn't sleeping well when I was there. I was also, I realize now, very anxious. And I didn't know that at the time, but now in hindsight, I was what was I doing? And then the second time, and then I booked it again. And the second time I was going to go back in the spring again by myself, but I came down with something called pleurisy, which is it's an old timey disease where the lining of your lungs gets inflamed. No one gets it. I don't know why I got it. It was super bizarre. So I went to my doctor, and my doctor's like, I think you need another teacher to come along. And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So I called Jennifer Ryan, whom at the time I didn't actually know very well.
Oh,
I just
cool.
liked each other. I had been to her class at the studio she taught at. She had been to some of my classes. We just seemed to have a good connection. We have lots in common. And she was like, yep, I can do it. And that was maybe 5 days before the retreat. And it ended up being so awesome. It ended up being amazing. Like we've got we've got lots in common, but we're different teachers, but similar teachers. Yeah. Totally. We really work well together. I'm so grateful for her. So I would never run a retreat on my own again. And I think by the time you came, I was thinking about that this morning. I think you came in maybe 18. Was it 18 and 19?
No, it must have been 17 and 18.
Okay.
No, it was 18 and 19.
Yeah, because you were on the
one of the last ones. Like it was in November or whatever.
Fun. And that was fun.
Was it fun for you? Because if you recall, I've gotten my period that's been raging every single time, and I was in a yurt. So
yes, I recall.
I mean, yes, it was fun. Also, no.
Kristina will not get a yurt in the future. Yes, noted. Yes, they're getting more fun for me. I found that the last one in particular, like I just felt a lot more relaxed. I started realizing that I could give more to Jennifer to take care of. I think I just thought that I had to do everything myself, especially ahead of time, like all the admin stuff. But I'm starting to realize delegating is good. And also just
something that you struggle with in general. Yeah.
So we've got our groove. Like the last retreat felt really good.
So when did you just have your retreat? In November, correct?
We had it. Yeah. November 21. Great. And I would say that was our best retreat we've had. We both felt a lot more relaxed.
There. I really wanted to come, and I was like looking at again the period calendar because something dooms me to go to Stoll Lake. And I was like, it's going to happen again on that time. And you know what? It was early.
No.
Because I remember seeing your IG and I was like, great, I'm just at home with my family and I could be there. So anyways, whatever. The universe will provide again when it's supposed to.
Totally. Yeah, this one was definitely the best. I did enjoy the last one you were on as well. I felt more relaxed, and I enjoyed like when we were crafting, you and I got to chat a little bit more, and like we had a good little circle. There's always a mixed bag of students.
What were the one that I was on, we were making those like yarn
we were felting
things, which I made the worst looking felted creature that exists. I really do. I love the location. It's a beautiful space. It's beyond beautiful. Like the farm it's a working farm. Anyone who wants to check out Stoll Lake Farm, they have things all the time. You literally, the food that you eat on the retreat is grown on the farm. And if it's not growing in, it's brought in with like, sourced, like they have like
as local as possible.
It's local and it's just, it's so good. Yeah.
It's amazing.
I actually have their cookbook, and I am not a cookbook person because I know how to, like I was a chef for a long time. So I rarely use recipes. And, one of their recipes are some of the ones that I actually use. So it's a really good.
It's delicious. I know.
I'm not salad dressing with the, nutritional yeast in it. That is my favorite.
Okay. That's your jam.
Yeah. With the lentils. Like they're mixed greens with like the green lentils on top and then that dressing. Like I crave that. It's been now 2 years since I've had that salad.
Well, one day you can have it again. I know. It's so good.
Soon enough. So you're doing a spring retreat as well?
Yeah, we're doing one in May. We're doing one in April, and
what's the dates for that? Or have you announced?
Yeah, it's full. I was just going to look at my phone. I know it's wild.
I won't be there.
No, however, I'm going to look at the dates. However, it filled so quickly, we didn't expect it. And there's a big wait list. So we're potentially going to do.
So awesome.
It's really awesome. Potentially we're going to do another one in May, the Mother's Day weekend, but I need to just send out a poll first. Like I need to make sure it's.
I'd be down for that because my retreat's in April as well.
Cool.
But don't do it the weekend of the 14th and 15th because I'm running an intensive that weekend. So
I think that's what it is.
No, of course it is because it's not.
Well, when's Mother's Day? When's Mother's Day?
Well, hopefully not that weekend.
Oh, it's no. So
the weekend before will be Mother's Day.
Yep. So that's when we're potentially going is May 5th to the 9th.
Fantastic. Well, we will have your information tagged in the show notes. So anyone who may want to embark on an incredible retreat on the farm in spring, like during May.
So nice. Yeah.
It's so happening for me. I don't care what's going on. I'm going. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's so fun.
So let's see, what brought you to yoga?
I was in fitness for a long time. Like in 2000, I'm from Calgary. That's where I grew up. I was born and raised there. And I did a personal training program through the college and got into fitness primarily. I moved to Victoria in 2000. And I did that for a lot of years, but I started finding it really superficial. Like I worked at the university. I really felt like I was feeding into these young women's like shitty body image of themselves. It didn't feel good. I didn't want to like fix them. You know, there was nothing wrong with them. They were these beautiful, perfect young women who just wanted to lose like 3 pounds or tone up this, or they hated that. And it just made
I remember those days.
Totally. Right. Yeah. It just made me feel gross. And I wasn't that much older than them, but it didn't feel good. And I had done yoga. I think I did my first class in Calgary, but it was more like I was attracted to it for fitness. And then when I moved here to Victoria, my girlfriends and I just found like a cool little studio that doesn't exist anymore. But like a tiny little studio downtown. We'd call it our mental health days. We'd like go to yoga and then go to brunch. And I just started to be more drawn to it for how I felt afterwards. I just found it really helped me feel less stressed and more relaxed. And then we found another cool studio called Mokshana Yoga Studio, where one of my girlfriends did her teacher training. And then I was just really burned out of personal training. So I did my yoga teacher training and loved it. And that took over. Like I had to still kind of work in the gym for a few years until I could get enough yoga work to drop it. And I've been teaching full time ever since. I've been teaching full time since 2000.
So incredible to be able to find a full-time spot as a yoga teacher to actually support yourself.
I know.
Anyone who's a yoga teacher knows how much of a grind that is. So yeah, you're super, like, I don't want to say lucky, but you're grateful anyways.
Yeah,
like
I am grateful.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like a few different, I feel like there is some luck and there is some opportunities that came about. Exactly. Like, and I was I was kind of in the right place at the right time. I was able to start teaching yoga at UVic and Oak Bay right away. So that was awesome. And it's been rec centers that have sustained my career. Like that's why I've been able to do it full time. I still teach. I still teach with an element of fitness. The main class that I teach is called Yoga for Strength. And we do strength and core and balance and weight training, which I love. So that's a nice kind of fusion class to still get that in. Cause I love feeling strong and empowered. I've recently got back into lifting weights. Like it's always something that I've really loved. So I appreciate that I can bring that into class, but I definitely find my students are more coming to see me to relax, to get stronger, to reduce their stress level, to sleep better. It's not that like, I hate this about myself. I want to change this, so I appreciate that. Yeah.
And so how do you feel that yoga has changed your relationship with your body?
Yeah, good question. I feel like that actually took a long time. And I feel like it isn't until the past couple years, like I'm 43. And I feel like it wasn't until my 40s that I'm like, oh, I'm more than just a body. Like I reposted someone lately was like, your body is the least interesting thing about you.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes.
So good. Yeah. And I don't know. It's
and so confusing when you're still in that.
Totally.
Right.
Totally. Cause it's like, what do you mean?
How?
So that, I know I started to feel more that my fitness and my strength and my yoga practice was more about how I felt than how I looked, but it's been, like I said, the past couple of years that I feel that more. So it actually took a long time. And it's more than just me practicing. I think it's just my age too. And
changing. Well, and like
wisdom.
We know how deeply ingrained, body image and diet culture is ingrained in our brain and our psyche and our upbringing. I mean, it's everywhere. There's like so much value placed upon our bodies as women and our age. And so when we start to reach our expiry date, that I don't know what it is now, maybe it's 35, maybe not, I have no idea. But like there is like this, idea of us losing our worth as we age. And so it's like, I just turned 41. I was just talking to a girlfriend yesterday. I actually am doing a double back-to-back recording of this show. So
perfect.
We were chatting. She just turned 40. And I'm like, I think like it is true. You see all the things like how you reach this age and you just stop giving a shit. But it also is like all of a sudden the switch of our wisdom starts to turn on, and that I am so much more than a body.
So much more.
Really starts to resonate, right?
Totally.
And anyone who isn't there just kind of falls away. Yeah. Because it's too hard to jump into those belief systems again once you've kind of cracked that egg open, Absolutely.
And you start to see more. And like I was listening to your podcast you did about body image and shame.
Yeah, was that with Heather Jacobson?
I listened to
just by myself.
It was just by yourself. It was the first one. And it was so interesting because I feel the same way too. It's all of a sudden like, holy shit, like the messaging is insane, especially at this time of year, the whole like new you, new year, new you, like what?
There's and you don't binge drink and binge eat all through December for January 1st to hit, and all of a sudden it's a new you.
Totally.
Like, so like wild. That's the most self-sabotage behavior right there, right?
I know.
I was at every January was a diet for me.
Yep.
So I don't remember for the last few years is the same for me, is like where I've had such a shift, and like realizing actually one of the biggest realizations that I had was when I quit drinking again. Is that I was like, saw that correlation in that addictive behavior, right? Of that rigidity and that all or nothing thinking, and how it showed up in the way I treated my body in general, whether it was with food, alcohol, drugs, sex, anything. There has just been, it's actually just a symptom. It's just a behavior that's attached to not being enough.
Absolutely.
Right? It's just something that we're just fed on a daily.
I know. And I thought about that too, like in my past, the past year, I've kind of been more aware of like, who am I following? Like, what am I seeing? What thin white woman? I'm a thin white woman as well. Like I have a lot of feelings about being a thin white woman teaching yoga.
Right.
I haven't come to reckon with that yet, but we're
not in LA. So we're at least,
totally, but I just, my whole, so I'm starting to follow more body positive people, following more people of color, like just opening up my world a little bit more, because it's felt so small.
I mean, you've already come from like a pretty major city. So Calgary is pretty diverse. I mean, it's pretty cowboy, but it's also diverse. Like, so you already have that within you. I'm literally from small town, rural Vancouver Island, redneck central. So like when I lived in Calgary, and Edmonton, actually around the same time, I guess, that you would have moved here.
Yeah.
And it was like culture, right?
Totally.
Like when you've been in like basically nowhere.
But if we said that to someone from Toronto, they'd be like, what are you talking about?
You're an idiot.
Like there's
yeah,
no,
totally.
there's
no, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
But it is
and
interesting.
Like, yeah. And things change, like you change and things change and cities change and whatever, but we're at such a great point in time right now where we can evolve to connecting with people around the world.
Absolutely.
And so that is like, though we're inundated by social media's negativity and addictiveness and anxiousness that comes along with it, totally. There is a diverse amount of people out there. And like, that's why I like Instagram is like my platform that I love, because it's the world. And like, you get to choose who you want in your bubble, right?
Yeah. 100%.
Facebook is, you know, tends to be your mom, and like, no offense, mom, but like, it's like, it's very different. Right. So yeah, definitely interesting when you start to shift and follow the people that are more aligned with you.
Absolutely. And see that there's so many people that are like, it's
absolutely. Yes. It's less isolating. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been cool. Like I do appreciate social media for that, for sure. Instagram in particular. I'm in a teacher training program right now as well. I don't know if I haven't really posted about it. Yeah. It's two women out of Ontario, Catherine Bruni Young and Carly Stong. And we have all these different modules. And one of like the whole kind of umbrella of the program is strength, science, and inclusion. So we've done different modules on anti-oppression and racism. We've done like accessibility. We're doing teaching strategies. We also do like a strength module and breath and core, but it's been really interesting just to open me up more.
Watch the change in the evolution in teacher training.
Absolutely. And just meet all these other teachers around the world. I was finding in Victoria, I would go to when in-person classes were more happening. I would go to lots of classes and I would, we'd all kind of pull things from the different teachers. So it's neat practicing with teachers that I've never met before that have totally different viewpoints. And so that has helped too, just kind of expand my little yoga world a little bit more.
In 2019 is when I started my online Ayurveda teacher training. And, my teacher is Katie Silcox. And so she is in West Virginia. And like everyone was just like from everywhere. And this feminine form Ayurveda I always really loved. So I've taken like halfway through my 500 hours for teacher training. So I've got my 200 hours and then I've got my yoga for trauma. And then I never finished my 500, but we did do Ayurveda. I think I got through the Ayurveda module with my teacher, but it was always really fascinating, but rigid.
Yeah.
And her expansion on that has just been life changing. Like just so much more fluidity and it's a feminine form Ayurveda is what she basically calls it. So
that's interesting. I like that.
She was a really like a really well-known yoga teacher. She was in Yoga Journal and she was like a really big time teacher in San Francisco and taught all over the world. And she burnt out. She was teaching so many yoga classes a week. And it was just this like rigid, masculine form, perfect form, like yoga. And there was no listening to the body. And she said like her nervous system burnt out. And I so related to this because my journey into yoga was not for fitness. My journey into yoga was because I was very mentally ill and I needed to save myself. Basically, I was really riddled with anxiety for years and on again, off again depression. And I would feel activated and anxious often during a yoga class. And so, discovering that was because of this rigid masculine form style of yoga, where you were under pressure almost to perform and there was no listening to the feminine parts of your body, even locking off the bandhas. Well, we need that flow.
Yeah. Oh, right? Interesting. That's an interesting
like it was really, really like mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
And so stepping into working with my nervous system, understanding my nervous system changed how I teach yoga, how I participate in yoga, how I live in my body now.
Yep.
And yeah, so there's a time and place for everything, right? I love strength training. I'm actually very curious about your course that you're talking about, because I'm wondering, are you teaching that on Zoom currently, or are you just in an in-person? Well, obviously we're mandated to not have fitness right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm teaching on Zoom, which I love. I started, I shifted, it's almost been 2 years, right? I shifted into teaching on Zoom in April 2020. And that's all I'm doing right now, because I'm waiting for my in-person classes to get going again. But even when my in-person classes are on, I'm still teaching on Zoom, because I think it's super cool. So that yoga for strength, I teach yoga for strength and flow on Zoom, and it seems to translate really well. Like I just looked over to my weights, because you have stuff around your house usually, and lots of people kind of loaded up on at-home exercise equipment when things started.
I have a full gym in my basement. So we changed our spare bedroom into a gym. I'm very lucky. It's been like that for years. It's been vacant a lot of times in my life too, but I'm pretty regular in there now. I'm taking a yoga class on Zoom Saturday nights. That's my Saturday night thing right now.
Okay.
But they're in Bali, so it's a 6:30 a.m. class to them, or one of them's in Thailand. I don't know. It's really cool.
That's cool.
Because everybody's all over the place, but it's a morning flow for them and an evening close down for me. So it's kind of funny.
Perfect. Yeah, I love it. Zoom's been amazing. I'm so grateful that I've enjoyed it and that I've had enough students to sustain it. And I will always teach in some capacity live streaming.
Yeah, I absolutely love Zoom. I've taken all my courses on Zoom. Yeah. It's another opportunity to be opened up to the world, right?
Exactly.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm terrible.
No worries. Yeah. My teacher training course, I would never have been able to do it. It's 300 hours. So for the course of a year. So it's amazing that I can.
That was the Ayurveda course too. It was a year long. My sex, love, and relationship coaching was a year long. Yeah. I couldn't commit to that unless it was online. Yeah. And meeting so many great women that want to do great work. So it solidifies that not being alone, that there are so many like-minded people that want to make change in the world and that are doing the work. So what a great opportunity for us to come together collectively.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's been really, obviously this pandemic is a ongoing nightmare, but I was
just going to say shit show. But.
But I've been so grateful to Zoom's been super fun. I also teach on doyogawithme.com.
You do.
So it's an amazing resource. There's lots of free classes. There's lots of subscriber classes as well. But I have students all around the world. And that
is because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
It exploded in popularity over the past couple of years. And a lot of my Zoom classes, probably a quarter of those classes are students from all around the world. Yesterday in class, I had someone in Tennessee, someone in Texas, someone in New Jersey, North Carolina. It's amazing.
Well, you're an excellent teacher. So your classes are very enjoyable. They're not rigid.
No.
It's easy to pick up a flow with you and feel comfortable. So I always your tone is something that actually stays in my head, is just how you speak during class and how it's very and if that doesn't work, then that's okay. So that's, I really enjoy that. And especially coming from, doing so much trauma informed work with people and how important that is, that immediate suggestion of, choice.
Yeah.
It's just so good for a person's nervous system, because that's often what someone struggles with, is the, not having a choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's also the difference in that you naturally bring in your femininity into your teaching. And
I like
that's
that.
where that rigidity shows up in that masculine form yoga, is where it's, you have to have your pose in a certain way.
Yeah.
Or
it looks like this and only this.
And only this, or it's wrong.
Yeah.
And so that takes choice away from people would act, and then your nervous system becomes activated as a trauma response.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. I haven't done any trauma informed training. That's so fascinating.
It's absolutely, I'm obsessed. So I'm in another trauma program right now that's 3 months long, just getting a little certificate. But
okay.
I've taken all my programs have offered like some trauma informed modules within them. Even the sex, love, and relationship coaching was like so trauma based.
Oh yeah, it would have to be.
A little bit activating that work. So, and then the Ayurveda, same thing. We did a huge section on the nervous system, and she has such an amazing crew of people through the Shakti school that help lead her program. So, cool. And then I've done, the stuff I'm doing right now is with Peter Levine and a whole other crew of like top-notch trauma workers through the Embody Lab. And it's just incredible work. And so, that's one of the main things that, people that have been, and we're living through so much trauma right now. Absolutely. No matter where you are and your thoughts of where, what rabbit hole you're down, it doesn't matter. This is traumatizing. And so that's showing up for so many people, and it shows up differently because trauma is a personal experience. So it's not really the event. It's the individual's reaction to the event. So what's traumatizing for me may not be traumatizing for you. Yeah. And that's why when we give choice all the time in circumstance for people, it gives, no matter where your nervous system is, the person an opportunity that they may not have had in the past. So that trigger doesn't show up.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
I'm glad that I'm glad that even though I don't have that training, I'm glad that resonates, because for so many, everybody's got trauma of some sort.
Because what you're doing is creating safety.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting. Like I've been in that course for, I guess it's 8 or 9 months at this point. And I can feel little shifts happening all the time, but I filmed a few new videos in December, and they're just out now on Do Yoga With Me as part of this 22-day challenge, and reading because a lot of people comment, right? So reading the comments, like I'm getting different comments than I did before. Like, because the one comment I read last night was like, thank you for not assuming what our bodies can and cannot do. It's like, oh, cool. Like, it's amazing, right?
Well, you're having a shift right now, which like I've been following you on Instagram since probably whenever I met you. Yeah. But that's what you just started to post, like more of the diet culture thing. Totally. And like this more like body acceptance stuff. And that's what I noticed. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like we've been kind of chatting back and forth in each other's like inbox. And so I was like, I thought it would be such a great opportunity to have conversation with you, because I'm seeing the shift myself. So I think it's going to show up in your work, right? Yeah. It's going to show up in how you offer things, just in your energy.
Good. That's a thank you. I'm glad that, because I repost a lot of things because I don't always know, like someone says it better, right? I don't need to take what they say and turn it into my, I can just put it out there. So I appreciate like using stories more, because there's a lot of great people out there, and
stories are the best.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm a
reposter of lots of shit. And then and then you know what it does is it continues to grow the community. So I see something like that you post on body image or something, I'm going to like click on that. I'm going to go to that page. Now I might follow that page, right?
Well, that's what I think about too, like amplifying other people, right? Like how can I get them out there as well? Not just me like taking what they said and making it some version of mine, which
right.
I'm learning too, right? We're all learning. Yeah. I feel like it's been a good time of getting older and being more self-aware and taking this teacher training course. Like everything's just kind of working well, going on medication, like everything's just kind of working well.
Yeah. So how long have you mentioned that you have had a struggle with anxiety yourself. So how long has that been prevalent for you?
You know, when I think about it,
I know it's kind of loaded, right? Like when has it not been prevalent?
I know, like, so I've just recently gone on medication. I'm on Cipralex for anxiety. I started 3 months ago and it has been a total game changer. I've always been a worrier. Even when I was a little kid, I remember like creating these scenarios in my head about like my parents dying or someone in my family being hurt and like just bawling, like stressing myself out about things that don't exist. Yeah. And then when I moved out of my parents' house, I feel like that's when I had to be, I hate the term adulting, but you know, when you're like, oh my God,
does
like,
sum it up.
Totally. But all of a sudden it's like, I have to do everything myself. Like I feel like I've always had some overwhelm and some anxiety. And it really like came to a head in these past couple of years. I've had a really stressful few years. I've had lots of family stuff, aging parents stuff. It's been a lot. Yeah. And I thought I was handling it okay. And I go to therapy and I exercise and I get lots of sleep and blah, blah, blah. But I had never tried medication before. And my best friend is a therapist and she had mentioned it, a couple times through the years. And I was like, no, I think I'm okay. And then I had a really bad bout this summer. Maybe bad's not the word. I had a bout of anxiety this summer where I actually felt like the physical symptoms, like of a really tight chest. Like I felt like someone was sitting on my chest and it was like, oh shit, like something's actually happening here and I need to deal with it. So I texted her. I'm like, can we talk about medication? She was like, yes. I'm instantly replied back. So it's a bit of a process, right? Because you have to book in with your doctor and then they give you an anxiety quiz and my answers were like through the roof.
Oh yeah. I was on anxiety medication. I've been on medication twice in my life. Both times I think in my early 20s. So, and I was on Prozac for quite a while. And then I was on, I can't remember the other one. Popular anxiety. No, it wasn't. It was like Effexor, I think, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Prozac, I feel like was the best for me. I was such an anxious person that like the anxiety medication gave me anxiety. So like I would have to force myself to take the pill and then I would have a panic attack after I took the pill because I was scared. Like I thought everything was going to be anaphylactic shock and I had awful body sensations and symptoms. And I still will at times I haven't been on medication for years now, but I suffered probably unnecessarily for a long time. But it wasn't until I started to do nervous system work that I personally started to really make a shift.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So it's like, I feel like a totally different person now.
Me too.
It's amazing. Yeah. And like, it's great to combat things. Like I wanted to use the medication as like a helper, right? Yep. To do the other stuff too. Yep. So like, it's not like one thing fixes all, right? Same with like losing weight, right? Yeah. The losing weight isn't going to actually fix anything, right? Yeah. You have to have this combination of, not that there isn't a time to like maybe lose some weight, but there's got to be a combination of things that come together to help us heal.
Totally. And that's what my doctor, like we talked about that too. Like, it's not just the medication. I still need to keep doing the other things I'm doing. And I am, but it was definitely like, that was the missing link. I feel like
for sure. And it's taking away suffering for you right now.
For sure.
Right. Like body sensations are very overwhelming and
it's awful.
I've had some gooders. Like I could write a book just on like panic attacks. Like,
yeah, I haven't had a panic attack, and I didn't think that worrying was anxiety. Like I just thought I was a worrier, but I would worry about everything, everybody, everything all the time. It was so tiring. So I feel like that's one of the reasons why the retreat in November went so much better as well, because I was,
you were out of that.
Yeah, I was just feeling a lot more grounded and a lot more like trusting that things are going to be okay, where I felt very like, I mean, it's a,
well, and that is anxiety, right? Anxiety wants you, this is the idea of where control shows up for you. So like you have this idea of controlling and being in charge and not giving it the delegations away because there's like that worrying shows up of things not turning out right. So that's some sort of self-limiting core belief that you've developed somewhere along the way. That's pretty much helped you survive though, right? That's the other thing. We have to remember these pieces of us have served some great purpose. True. Because when we needed them, they were there.
Yep. They did their job really well. And now
they just stayed for too long. They didn't know they were an intern.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's been really helpful too. Like I definitely feel, more grounded and in myself and more confident with what I do and how I teach. And it's been
super important.
Mm-hmm. It's been a wild time, but I'm grateful for that. Like just kind of a push to try something different.
Yeah. And like, look what opens up when we do decide to take the bull by the horns, right?
Absolutely. For sure. I took it.
Yeah. So where can people, well, we're going to tell everyone where they can find you. I'm going to put all of your links in the show notes. They can join you online. Perhaps they'll be able to join you in person.
Yeah. One day.
Amazing talking to you.
Thank you. You too. It's been fun.
I hope that I will be on a May retreat.
Yes, I hope so as well.
I will. Salt Spring Island.
Oh, it's the best. I will be finalizing it like in the next couple weeks. I'm on the mailing list. So exactly. Yeah. So you can put your name in the poll and then we can make sure that it's the right time. It's a big expense if retreats aren't full. And
I know.
Yeah, you know.
And I'm only doing 8 people ones, but it's still expensive.
Absolutely. 100%.
I've definitely undercut myself for the last, and I mean, I was still like in such a high, like learning curve too, when I was first starting out. So like things obviously have evolved, to like such a great, I feel like the same. It's funny with you saying that this retreat that you just did felt like the best one yet. And, for myself personally, on the retreat that I just held in October, I felt the most genuine, the most at home that I'd been yet. Like I was like, okay, I've solidified, what I offer and I accept what I have to offer now. So I'm bringing it forward full on. Right. So, so I think that's like part of like using this time that we've been, in isolation to explore ourselves deeper and to work on our shit. Right. And so like, there could have gone many different ways over the last couple of years, but it's definitely gone upward.
Yeah, I agree. Me too. Thank goodness.
Yeah. I know myself, I could have gone into quite the hole.
I know. Yeah. People can reach me. My website is bloomyogavictoria.ca. And my socials, my Instagram and my Facebook is also Bloom Yoga Victoria. And that has all my,
and we'll find you. We'll have everything in the show notes. So anyone who would love to work with Melissa, she is amazing.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being here.
No problem. Thanks, Kristina. Nice to chat with you today.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
I came from the mud.